Hello, hello. Happy New Year, everyone. We're so excited to be back with you. It's 2021, and you're joining myself and Michael Tasner, marketing guru, on the Get Connected show for childcare leaders. Welcome. Hey, Michael, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, Happy New Year to you. I know we haven't talked
Happy
in a
New
week or
Year.
so.
I know.
You have a fun celebration. I saw some of the fun things you did on Facebook with playing at the piano, and you had a lot of fun things. Looks like you guys had a good time.
Yeah, actually the piano is a little secret because I have a player piano, which I absolutely love. It's a childhood memory of mine going to this shake shop where they always used to have, you could put a quarter in and you could play the piano. So when I saw one at an estate sale out here, I'm like, oh, I have to have that. And you could play it real, but that was a scroll. So secret.
Well, it sounds good to me.
Yeah. So today, if you're joining us, say hello. We'd love to hear how your new year was. And we are talking about strategies to help you become more effective in 2021. And if that's important to you, please let us know. But we're going to dive in and talk about some planning strategies and some different things that you can incorporate to really become more effective as you progress through your year. And if you haven't done any planning, if you haven't made a to-do list, if you haven't done any of that yet, no worry. Just join us for this hour and take some tips and strategies and hear what we're doing. And hopefully that will give you a good start. So that's what we're talking about today. So if you have a planner, go grab it. If you have a legal pad of paper, go grab it. And we're just going to do some strategic stuff today to really help you put your plan in place so that 2021 can be the best year ever. And it totally can be, right, Michael?
Definitely. I mean, there's always opportunity in everything. So it's all about perspective and kind of how you perceive what's going on. And I know we'll talk planners in just a little while, but I do think a lot of it actually does come down to kind of your rituals and your habits and things like that of getting you into a particular state. So I'll kind of talk about how I've been doing so far this year. Did a couple of days, missed a day or two, and it's very interesting to see the days that I missed were definitely chaotic and I wasn't in flow. But this is it's a perfect time of the year to get your ducks in a row. You've got a clean slate for the year. You've got some new momentum, some new energy, that rather than kind of starting and just kind of letting the year happen to you, I want to see you own the year. And you've got to start by doing, you got to be doing certain activities. You've got to start getting your ducks in a row quickly, because otherwise geez, all of a sudden it's the end of Q1 and you're like, well, where did January, February, March go? And what the heck happens? And historically, January is usually a very busy month for childcare. So having that plan and those habits is definitely critical.
Yeah, and do ducks really stay in a row? I don't know. I grew up in suburbia, but my dad raised ducks, geese, and quail for a while, and I always wondered about that saying. I'm like, where did that saying come from? I know the mother duck tries to keep her ducks in a row, but does she really? That's, inquiring minds.
Definitely an overused phrase for sure.
Right. But tell us what kind of planner you are. I know there's different people, and I know I'm a different kind of planner than my sister is, or than one business owner might be. And Michael and I might be very similar. We might be different. We're going to find out as the show progresses. But are you somebody who likes to look at your full year in advance and have it laid out? Do you have like the next 5 years laid out? I take more of the mindset of having a 90-day plan, because I think things change so rapidly, including myself. I become a different person every single day. So if I look at making a year plan or a 5-year plan, it's really tough for me to follow through on that, because I'm like, wait a second, things are so different this 90 days than they were in the last. So let us know, what kind of planner are you? Do you love to have it mapped out for 5 years, for a year, 90 days? What's your strategy? How about you, Michael?
So I definitely have flip-flopped several times. So the one document that I'm finishing, and I'm actually presenting it to my team on Friday, is a document that I've mentioned on here a few times, but I call it a painted picture. And that document is it's a three-year document. So it's written as if I'm looking out December 31st, 2023. What do things look like in 3 years from today? And that's more of my long range. And it has very, very little of the how it's not meant to be the how, it's meant to be the what and some of the why. So example, if I were a childcare center owner, I may want to say 3 years out, I have 5 locations. My brand is getting featured in Parents Magazine. We won a best place to work. Like, you start to list out the different criteria. There's a book that guides you through the whole process step by step. The book is now called Vivid Vision. And I first heard of this painted picture concept from a business coach named Cameron Harold, who's the former chief operating officer for 1-800-GOT-JUNK. So he helped take the company from like $4 million to like 180 million while he was there.
They have some great marketing messages.
Oh, definitely. So the book, the other one that he wrote that I recommend even more is Double Double. It's in my top 5 favorite books. Okay. It's just a lot of like one-line quick hits, like small things. Why are you having a party when somebody is quitting or leaving? It's like, why would you celebrate that? You celebrate when they arrive. Like, why are you wasting time and resources and bandwidth on like these goodbye parties for people? Now, granted, if they're retiring, that's a different story. But he's like, why? If someone's with you for 6 months and leaves, you're giving them a card or something like. So just there's a lot of, and they're not like you have to do this, but there are a lot of
just some idea generators.
Yeah, like things to think about. And one of the concepts in that particular book was of this whole painted picture that he initially called it, and for whatever reason he changed the name to Vivid Vision. But so that's one document, and I will have it finished actually by tomorrow. And I usually revise it once or twice a year. It's not meant to be heavily revised. It's meant to be, goals and dreams and things that you're envisioning. But then the second thing is the more granular level. I've jumped, and I'm hoping to be able to use paper this year. Mm-hmm. So I did buy the one that you had shown, but I think maybe I have the smaller version. But and
I've got a couple versions of them. I got the smaller.
Yeah. So the Freedom Mastery, it's called.
Okay. I love Freedom Mastery. I've tried several different ones.
Ooh. So that's the one that I bought, and I've started using the daily stuff.
Oh, okay.
So there's.
Do you have the undated daily one?
Yeah. So they've got the undated daily, and then there's like a ton of like. Clearly, I haven't filled everything out, but then there's a ton of things to really start to get you thinking a little bit more. Yeah. Not even strategically, to put you in a good state, and that's something that Julie has talked about substantially. So I'm trying very hard to use this. I also used. It's funny because I'm using a lot of things that you've recommended. So
Awesome.
I'm a product of the product. But
there we go.
The other one that you've recommended, Start with Gratitude. So I have that. And then the other thing that I use is just, I've got different sizes of these, but I usually do a little bit of journaling. So I'm a big fan of just authentic paper. So like handmade paper rather than, so I try and find fun journals. So
nice.
I start off strong. I've done it pretty well, but I still struggle with trying to make it a habit every single day. Mm-hmm. And what I do is I tend to bounce between offline and online. So the other tool that I've been using the last 6 months is Notion. I believe it's Notion.so. Okay. And it's a really great that there's so much training on it. It's overwhelming. But 6 months ago, I typed in just literally into Google software to organize my life. So these types of things are meant to the gratitude. This gets me into operating from a grateful standpoint. Just a couple of quick things that come out of my head. Like this morning, I think I asked who I was grateful for. So I wrote, grateful for all my team that they allow me to take time off to attend to my medical things. So I mentioned to you, I took a little fall, and
Yeah.
right after this live, I got to go get a CT scan. So,
Oh my goodness.
and then people you're grateful for my grandmother, who's always positive despite all of her hardships. I mean, she's 92, she's legally blind, and she's like the most positive person, never complaining about anything.
Isn't that amazing?
So I like to do this, and then I do like to plan out my day in paper form. But what I also found that I needed was something to also capture all of the randomness. So I've started to organize Notion so that I'm putting in financial stuff. I'm putting in important papers. So like I went through, these are like really boring things, but they've been on my list to do for years. Like I went through and took pictures of all my important papers. So like social security cards and birth certificates. So I had a cloud-based picture. And I'm like, okay, well, where do I put this stuff? So I started to organize it into this Notion tool. So that's kind of my stack.
Cool, I have to check that one out.
Yeah, I think you'll notice that there's so much training on Notion. There's just, you can literally, anything and everything that you could ever imagine can go in there.
Cool.
And a lot of people that don't want to do anything on paper, they just use Notion. But I still, and I believe you're the same way, I still find that putting stuff on paper, there's just a different way about it. It makes it feel more real to me. I don't know. So that's my long-winded
energy. There is an energy when you put pen to paper. I really think it, because one of my main tools is using my Google Calendar, especially with my team or getting appointments scheduled with my clients. But there's something about like when you take that freedom mastery and you're writing out the 3 things I'm grateful for, or what did I learn today, the different questions in the daily planner that you have, that just I don't know, it just makes you feel like you're growing and there's a different energy behind it. I really believe that.
So that's my stack. I'm moving the needle. It's working okay so far, but for me, and like everything that's new, it's going to take me, a couple of weeks to kind of get in the zone. And I'm finding that there's still a lot of randomness that happens. So I'm kind of looking at and reflecting on the day after the day ends, and then leveraging that to see, well, what can I change about tomorrow, for example? So like, today I got a little bit of a late start, and then I realized, well, when I did that, then I missed a couple of my most important things that I wanted to do for the day. Yeah. And then you're just trying to catch up. So.
Yeah, and I think one of the main things to keep in mind is to always be thinking about, well, what are my high payoff activities? And when I first started speaking way back in the 90s, well, it actually goes back further than that. When I was in corporate America, my office was so well insulated with paper. I was like, oh my goodness, how do I get control of this? And I really started studying time management, personal effectiveness, all that kind of stuff. And I discovered your high payoff activities should really be the driver for your day. And those high payoff activities are the things that are going to get you to your goals, and your goals are going to get you to your big vision for the next 12 months, next 2 years, next 3 years, next 5 years. So really think about what your high payoff activities are. And there's a Pareto principle that, Michael, you're probably familiar with, that says that 20% of what we do gives us 80% of our results. So it's really important to identify this 20%, and that is your high payoff activities. Those are the things that are going to drive your results. And most of us will spend 80% of our time doing things that only get us 20% of our results. And if you think about everything that you do daily, think about what really drives the result that you want. So right now is a great time. And I've got on my wall over here to my right, like 6 major objectives that I want to accomplish. I put them on huge Post-it note papers. And I said, okay, in this area of my life, this is my one thing. In this area of my life, this is my one thing. And then I'm looking at the 3 things that are going to help me meet that thing. And that's how I'm doing a lot of my management this year, is going into it saying, okay, well, what are my main objectives in every area of my life? And what are the 3 top things that I need to do to get me to that place? And I think a lot of times our leaders, especially our owners, our entrepreneurs out there, we can complicate it. We can think there's like so many different things that we have to do, when really your list should be like 3 to 5 main things that you have to manage consistently. Everything else should be delegated, simplified, or eliminated. And I think that's really important to look at. And I too, like Michael, I get the planner, and I asked also my childcare business success group, I said, all right, how many of you get a planner and have good intentions to use it, but then don't use it the way that you would really like to? And most people say,
how many
yeah.
people? Yeah, well, I was going to say most people probably said yes.
Right. I have to look at the numbers, but some people are like, no, I love my planner. But there's a lot of people, more so than not, who are like, yeah, I get that planner. And some people, Michael, would you believe this? Some leaders get 6 different planners.
Oh, wow.
Somebody responded back saying, I have 6. And when we're sitting here counting ours, I'm like, well, I guess that's not too far off from what we do. So, but I too have the Freedom Mastery, and this one, I think it's beautiful. It's based on the rules of the law of attraction. And this one is the weekly one. So there's a weekly spread in this one, where you don't have that one in your daily. But this year I got this one because I wanted to really be able to look at my entire week and plan that out. And I use erasable gel pens, which are really important because life changes. And if you put something down on pen, some people are so afraid to use their planners because it's like, oh, once I put something in there, it's in there. But if you get an erasable gel pen, it looks beautiful. And then you could totally erase it if something does change for you. And the thing that's really cool about this planner is that there are monthly assessments that you do. And also there is a full, if you like vision boards, and not to mention these planners aren't beautiful, they are. But there is a full, oops, let me find it. That's the instructions. But there's a full blown out with your assessments in here, the vision board that you can pull out, and you can make a vision board right in here along with all the different assessments that you're doing. And, and I kind of take it as I feel like writing in it. I don't make it something that I have to be obligated to. But when I'm like, oh, I really want a retrospective moment, I'll pull out the planner, look at some questions, and really deep dive into this. And we all know the saying, right, that if we don't plan, we plan to fail.
Oh, exactly.
I think that's true. But I think also we overcomplicate it. And I think that it could just be looking at what are the main things I want to accomplish this month, and what are the 3 things that are going to drive those results home for me.
Oh, and that's kind of what I did with my leadership team a little bit the other day. We started making a list, and I already felt myself getting overwhelmed because I'm like, there's a zillion different things that anyone can do. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, here are the different things that I want to do. I call it corporate marketing. So the marketing for our business. I want to improve the website. I want to write another book. Like I started listing all these different things. And that was just on the marketing side. Then I'm like, on our operations side, I want to hire another salesperson. I want to do, and I'm like, I started overwhelming myself substantially. Right. And then I said, okay, let's take a step back and the 1 or 2 things, and let's dig in. And I just heard this guy's name. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but I just started seeing his name like a week ago. And I'm not even sure how to pronounce it, either Neville or Naval Ravikant, Naval Ravikant. And I started listening to a lot of his content, and I think you would like a lot of the stuff. But he's talking a lot about, taking action, and people often are doing too much strategy and too much thinking and too much reading and not enough action. And
yes,
a lot of, and I've heard that before, but like you need to hear it again. And I think that's what a lot of their childcare center leaders are often doing. You're overthinking a lot of the different things, and you're almost, a lot of them are nervous to try different campaigns. And even just the simple idea that you gave of the erasable gel pens, for example. Mm-hmm. And people are like, oh, gee, well, if I put this in, then it's in pen. And,
right. Well,
and kind of
that's why I used to not want to write in my planner, because I'm like, I don't want to put something in there, and that's why people get scared about their vision too, and writing that down, because then it's like they just carved it in concrete, carved it in cement, and that's not true. And yeah, so get yourself some gel pen, go to Amazon, get some friction gel pens, erasable. And I've been using them, and my pages are very colorful and it's fun. And I love the planner that Michael has too, because it really helps you stay in the mindset of gratitude. And to me, when I use that planner religiously, it just really puts me in a better state of mind, thinking, oh, okay, I'm on top of things. This is really cool. So I love that. I hope that you enjoy it as well.
No, definitely. I mean, it's been great so far, and I mean, my favorite piece of it, and I'll just go to a day that I don't have filled in, but where they have the to-do list. Let's see if I can get it to focus.
Yeah.
So, but they have the to-do list, but then they have it call out to, you can only list a couple of things that are your top priority, and then low priority / to delegate. Because a lot of people that I've seen, they'll start just cranking things through, and and then you're at the end of the day, you're like, well, I didn't cross off any, or I crossed off one.
Yeah.
That was a failure, when really you crossed off the thing that's the most important. And as Julie mentioned earlier, it's nailing down and starting to nail down. Maybe we pivot the next piece of our chat a little bit to provide some ideas of some other areas that they could start to look at. But it's going to be nailing down what are those things that are going to really drive the momentum for you. And for every center, it's going to be something different. For a lot of them, it's going to be enrollments.
Yeah.
For a lot of them, I'm hearing more and more and more every day, it's team. We need more team. We need a better team. We need to fix our team. Other centers, and I say this with love, it's operations that, like, when I ask about your processes, and normally I'm asking about the intake process. So, like, after you give a tour, what does that look like? And if you're not able to rattle it off pretty quickly, there usually isn't a structured process. So it's starting to nail down and really think about what are those things that then start to boil up to that 80% that's going to drive the most momentum quickly.
Yeah. And that's a great point. And if you're at the place where you just feel overwhelmed, you don't even know where to start, I really recommend using a mind mapping technique, or a lot of people call it webbing, where I teach my students just to do a brain dump. Take everything that's going on inside of your head, all the crazy thoughts, all the things that you think you need to do, all the things you need to whatever, delegate out, and you just make a mind map or a webbing, which is basically you starting with a circle of a main thing like to-do list, and then you're just drawing different branches out, like, oh, open house, oh, marketing, oh, follow-up call with Michael, oh, talk to Julie about team building, whatever it might be. And you just web it out, and then you just dump it all out. And then you can even start to code things in color, or say, okay, this really needs to be delegated. Because the things that we want to land on your list are the things that really only you can do. And sometimes there's things that we think we can only do, but then there's the real things that really only we can do that. Only we can record a video with our face and our voice. Only we can record an audio message as follow-up, right? Only we can write that check. So there's only this certain things, a handful of things that we really, truly can only do. The rest are things that we can really be delegating out. So think about doing a webbing where you just do a brain dump. And I've got another planner I want to show you too that I think is brilliant if you were in the mode of overwhelm and you feel like there's just way too much on your plate. I want to show you this as a tool to help propel you out of that. But really be thinking in terms of everything that's going on in your head, because it becomes like craziness to try to carry around everything. And I know I used to do this too. So now I'll have several mind maps or webs going on in my office where I'm just like adding to it, or team members will even add to it. And it just becomes a document where now it's like I don't have to hold all these thoughts that I'm thinking about everything inside of my head. They're on a piece of paper. And when I walk into my room, my office, I see them and I'm like, oh, okay, here are the things that I could take action on this week, or I could pull things out for the month.
I like that a lot. And I don't think that can be understated. And it's something that I forgot about. I know we've talked a little bit about this in the past, but as busy professionals, your minds are always full. And I I know that my mind, like right now, and I have not done that exact exercise, and I usually do it every year. So it's a great
Mm,
reminder that I
yeah.
usually go into something like Evernote. And what I do is I've got a list of like 200 words,
Mhm.
and they're in different categories. I found them from a gentleman named Dave Crenshaw, who used to be my productivity coach.
Oh,
And he
nice.
would say once or twice a year, you dust off this list and you typically have somebody read the word to you. And you literally just start to write anything that comes to mind. So, example, we'll start with something a little different. Maybe the category is personal, and then the word is health. And then the next word is medications, vitamins. So there's like 10 words that might be under health. And if there's something that comes to mind, like I keep saying that I should take a B12 shot or something like that. You write it down, and you literally, the whole process is just to get everything similar to how Julie is suggesting with the spider web and the mind map, which I like a lot. The
Mm,
whole goal is to get all that stuff out of your head, because otherwise it happens to me all the time. And I'm starting to realize just as I'm talking that I need to do this, that if you're laying in bed thinking about, oh, I should do this, I should do that. Well, as long as you get all that stuff onto paper or in
yeah.
some kind of system, or I've seen a lot of businesses where they've done it with Post-it notes.
Mhm.
And they're like,
Your
okay, like
business
if
notes are
you're,
beautiful.
yeah, so like I'm sure you've probably done some of this with your,
Mhm.
when you've done roundtables and sessions for teams in person, maybe you're brainstorming a particular topic. Uh, so it's the same kind of thing, but you go through that not just in the business areas, but you go through in all the different areas of your life. And my favorite word, and I'll take a sip for a pause dramatic effect.
Ooh, drum roll. Michael's favorite word?
Yeah, my favorite word my favorite word to help categorize things is perhaps.
Oh, okay.
So the big thing that you need to realize is that 98% of the things that you're going to rattle off, either you're not going to accomplish them this year, or they're not overly relevant. They're just ideas.
Yeah.
So what I like to do is, so if I were going with the health area and I were to say, okay, health, and then somebody says vitamins, doctors, and they start to read those different things out. Instead of me saying and putting a task to take B12 shots, I'll say perhaps, and then it's categorized. So I'm able to then quickly start to look at what are all the different things I could potentially do? What are all of the perhaps that, because I found what I was doing in the past was that when I did this exercise probably 7, 8 years ago, the first time, I had like 600 things, and they
Wow.
were like just everything. Like, oh, I should get a different accountant. I should have quarterly, like when I was going through all the tax stuff, I should take pictures of it. Like, just all these different things came to mind. And then I overwhelmed myself because I thought that, well, geez, now I got 600 things I need to start doing. And I just got into overwhelm. But what I found was if I
Mhm.
put the word perhaps before them, perhaps I should look at getting a new CPA, unless it's something that has to be done. If you don't have a CPA or an accountant, you don't need a CPA.
Mhm.
An accountant is fine, or an enrolled agent, that you can add that as a perhaps. But if you don't have someone, then it should go in there as a task. So um, I'm in no way a productivity expert. I paid somebody a lot of money like 10 years ago to train me on his system, and he learned most of his stuff from David Allen of Getting Things Done, and kind of that whole system of kind of important and urgent, not important, not urgent, that whole
Yes, the
scale.
quadrant.
Yeah, so he
That
leveraged a
was
lot
my
of
first
that.
area of study where the four quadrants, what's urgent, what's important, what's, urgent but not important. So
Yeah,
yeah, there's something
exactly.
in there. Yeah.
So he got a lot of his stuff from there, but his big thing among the other takeaways was this whole notion of just empty your brain once or twice a
Dump
year
it out.
and
Dump it
just
out.
throw
Yeah.
it in there.
And that's so, so important, and mindset is really important too with being effective and feeling like you're being more productive. And I know a lot of times we lay there in bed, like Michael's saying, I should be doing this. I should have done this. I should have done that. Just repeat this and write this down. If this resonates with you, write down this statement, because instead of saying I should have, this is something that you could flip to, okay? Everything happens in perfect timing. So when you start getting into, I should be doing this, or I'm running late, or what are they going to think of now? Whatever it might be, everything happens in perfect timing. And you'll start, when you really integrate that into your being, you'll start seeing parking spots open up for you because you pull into the parking lot. It's like, oh, everything's happening in perfect timing. But the more that you can let that resonate with you and just really sink in, the more productive you're going to be. Because if you're working from an energetic place of everything's happening in perfect timing, you are going to be much more productive. Your results are going to be different than, oh, I should have done this and I should have done this, and I'm always running 5 steps behind. We really want to eliminate that kind of inner dialogue and change it to everything happens in perfect timing. So when you're sitting there at night, or if you wake up at midnight thinking about the things, just lull yourself back to sleep thinking everything happens in perfect timing. And then thank me for a good night's sleep.
Love it. No, I wrote that on here as a quote. Excellent quote, and definitely something to, because a lot of us, myself being one of which, think that everything needs to happen now. And I want you taking action. I want you in a state of action, but certain things are going to boil up to the top, and you don't have to have everything completely figured out to know what the next perfect action is. If you start to look at the phrase that Julie just said, everything happens in timing. So you might sit down and say, well, I need more staff. I need a bigger building. I need more enrollment. So I need more cash flow. So you list out all these different things.
Yes.
But one of those is going to start to boil up to the top as you start to put your energy behind it, as you start to, I'm definitely getting back into meditation just in a small way, of even just having 5 or 10 minutes of quiet in the morning.
Yeah.
And I find that definitely starts my day off in a much, much better zone. So there's so many, I'm sure that you meditate, there's so many benefits to meditation, and in no way am I an expert there.
Sometimes I believe I live in a meditative state.
I'd love to get to that state where nothing bothers me. It's like I'm high and low I can be high at 2:00 and then 2:05 I'm low.
Again.
Yeah. So, but it's said that people that meditate often, in like transcendental meditation, for example, that they don't experience that nearly as much. So.
Yeah, and I think there's a fine line between trying to be in control and getting yourself into freak out mode. And when you get into freak out mode, you just feel like curling up into a fetal position and saying, why am I even trying? And then our week's not productive, our day's not productive, our month's not productive, our years is not that productive. So if we really, really, really let the vision come and bulldoze all those negative thoughts out of our mind by staying in touch with it and saying things to yourself like, everything happens in perfect timing, or I am grateful for all the enrollments I have, instead of freaking out about the enrollments, it changes up your energy, and that's going to switch up your results. And that's where we really want you to stay, is in that energy that's going to bring you the greatest amount of results this coming year and for the rest of your life. So it's really important.
So if we were to look at, with another, let's just say our next 10, 15 minutes or so that we have left, I mean, what would we suggest, just at a high level? Yeah. And what I mean by that is, what are some of the centers that you're working with? Where are some of the things that they're focusing on, some of the areas? Are there a couple of things that you always like to recommend to kind of take a look at for this year? I mean, I would love to give, a pitch to Julie. She is the whisperer of teams and workplace gossip, and just so many different things in this industry, that it is the absolute perfect time to move the needle on your team, on corporate culture, on a lot of other areas. Eliminate gossip, but are there some things that you'd say, hey, if I were sitting in the driver's seat, not knowing all the facts, obviously, but here's a thing or two I'd suggest you look at for this year.
Absolutely. And also make sure that I show you this other tool before we wrap up the show. I really want to show you this other planner tool that may help you get out of overwhelm. It's really a cool tool. The one thing I recommend you doing right now is to think about the things that you can get this. Are you ready? Brace yourself. Stop doing. So oftentimes we're thinking about, what else do I need to do? What else can I do? What else can I do? But think about what you can stop doing, because there's a lot of things that we're doing that aren't leading to the result. And I talked to you about this a little bit earlier, but even, in one childcare center, they're like, oh, well, we don't get, newsletter content turned in from staff members on time. So they were putting out memos, they were doing a broadcast on Facebook, they were doing this, they were doing that, they were doing like 20 things to still come to the result that they were not getting newsletter content from staff members on time, but they were still trying to do all these different things. So, why do all those things if it's not driving a result that you want? So I would really get together as a leadership team, and even with your entire team, and say, all right, let's list out all the different things that we do every single day. And then let's list those things out and let's start crossing things off. What is not getting us any kind of result? And think about things that you can stop doing, and ask your staff that too, from a leadership perspective. What is it that we can stop doing? Because often we think about, well, what else can I do? What do I need to start doing? What can I stop doing? And take a deep breath, because some of the things that you need to stop doing are things that you might be emotionally attached to. It's like, but wait a second, I really like to do that. Or I get my validation from doing that, like being the staff therapist. But those are things that you don't need to do, that you can stop doing, especially if you start attracting the right staff.
Love it. No, that's a much different way to look at and to approach everything that I think most people are used to. And even for me, I know that I have done a few stop doing lists, but definitely not nearly as much as I should. Because now that I'm thinking about it and looking at what a lot of other business owners do, they sit down and just start making this huge list. I've got to do this, got to do this, got to do this. And none of those are, I should stop blaming. I should stop complaining. I should stop gossiping. I should stop eating out fast food 7 times a week. And as you start to go through those, that'd be a tough one for me. I don't eat out 7 days a week, but I definitely am at Chipotle a few times a week for sure.
Oh, Chipotle, huh?
Yeah, it's healthier fast food, I guess, but not when you get the chips and queso and the pomegranate cherry drink and all that stuff. But
I am a sucker for French fries, so I know. That's why I got an air fryer, trying to get that fixin'.
Oh, those are so good, those air fryers.
Yeah, and the other thing too that I would really recommend you doing that is missing in many organizations is think about your objectives. What are your personal objectives for the next month? Just break it down, the next month, the next 60 days, the next 90 days, and make sure each team member has an understanding of what their objectives are. Most of the time in this industry, people think their main objective is just to get through the daily stress. So objectives have to really propel people in the direction of the vision. And once you have those objectives outlined and laid out, and everybody's got their 3 objectives in place or their 5 objectives, they know how their performance is going to be measured. They know what they need to do to be successful. So that is another thing that I would recommend, is to really make sure that you've got objectives in place, and they can change. It's okay. But it's a good starting place where most people are like, oh, it's just to get through this next crisis. And it's not. Is it to provide grade A, top-notch customer service? Is it to walk in every day with a smile on your face? Is it to answer the phone with a happy hello? What might it be? So make sure each team member has objectives in place that you're going to be tracking and measuring their progress against. And that's going to really help them become more effective, because they know what the crucial measurements of their success are. So those would be a couple. I have another one too, but I'll be interested in hearing what you have to say.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things, but for me, the big one is planning out the next 30 days from a marketing perspective. So there's a lot of other things that you can be doing, but historically, January, February are normally very good enrollment months. It seems like it's been a little bit softer to start the first couple of days than I would have liked to have seen, but I think just where the holiday fell, and I think with just unfortunately COVID, and I think they're going to be steadier throughout the entire year, rather than like this huge burst in January and then quiet for a couple of months and then a big burst. I think it's going to be pretty steady throughout the year, but that's just, I guess, my unofficial prediction. But I'm a fan of planning 30 days in advance. So I like the strategy of 90. But I think with things changing so frequently with the ages of families and things like that. Just from you could definitely do a 90-day strategic plan, but from a marketing plan standpoint, I like to look at 30 days. So what are you doing this week? What are you doing next week, the week after? But I want you to backwards plan it. And I think this is where a lot of childcare center owners, they miss the mark. They don't take this step at all. They're still operating by the seat of their pants from a marketing standpoint. They're still using hope marketing. I would do air quotes, but I can barely lift my one shoulder, but I'll do one. There we go. They're using hope marketing. And well, I hope that parents refer a bunch of new parents in January and that we close the gap on the 30 enrollments. So I really want you to start thinking a little bit more as the business owner from a numbers standpoint. Yeah. And you've got to be real with yourself. I mean, I got off a conversation a couple of days ago with a center that's been open for a few years, and their enrollments, their capacity was 50 something. They were aiming to put in the license to get it increased, I think, to like 95. So how many do you currently have? 10. Okay, well, that's a little bit of a problem. So what's the plan for January? How many leads did you get last month? And what are you doing? Like, how are you going to change that? And there just wasn't a plan. And I think it's almost, it's tough sometimes to come to grips with those types of situations. But the way that I've found to kind of get out of those situations is to have a plan that you can start to back into. So if you want to add 10 enrollments this month, and let's say you want to make it even, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, or however you want to do it, maybe 2 this week, 3 next week. Okay, great. What are the activities then that are going to drive those 2? And you've got to move away from this whole hoping, or you're slapping up a billboard and then all of a sudden everyone's going to see that billboard, for example. I mean, people are on the road. Rush it in. Yeah, like people are on the road now less than they ever have been in history. More people are now working from home. So largely you've got to be doing some digital activities, but what does that mean? Are you going to be posting on social media? Are you going to host a webinar? Are you going to do a virtual tour night? Are you offering parents a Saturday night out, for example, and you're going to aim to do that? Are you sponsoring and you're going to give 100 backpacks away with goodies? And I've seen a few centers deploy that with great success, because the PR that they generate from that is worth thousands and thousands of dollars. So you're able to, news stations want good stories. They're sick of talking about the election and COVID, and they want to be able to break in with, ABC Center it gave away 100 backpacks filled with supplies. So you got to have a plan. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but I want you to at least have some metrics that you're going to strive for. What are you aiming to attract? What are you aiming to bring in? And then put some activities to it.
Yeah. And anything, if anything, when you write down a plan, and I don't know about you, Michael, but sometimes I do this where I put my plan in my planner and then I don't look at it on a daily basis. I'll look at it like at the end of the week. I'm like, oh, wow, isn't that interesting? I wrote it down and then I still took action, even though I didn't look at it daily, but my action was still driven by what I had written down days earlier. So even just the action of writing things down can propel you forward into the motion that you need to really bring your big vision to life. So keep that in mind too. If you're like, oh, I'm not a daily planner kind of person, I don't write it down. Even just writing it down and formulating that initial plan is going to move you forward. Absolutely. So just remember that as you progress through this year.
Hey, and rather than Julie and I kind of continuing to overload you with more and more ideas, re-listen to this that we just shared. Re-listen to, grab some notes and start to formulate your plan. Take some action and, grab one of the Freedom Mastery Planners, for example, or that was a Julie recommendation. Start with Gratitude, another Julie recommendation.
From Amazon. Yep.
Yeah,
it's both on Amazon.
Often I'm multitasking on our live, and I had Amazon up for a second and I typed in erasable gel pens, which I never knew existed. So that's going to change the
Really?
way.
Oh, yeah. See,
I,
yeah, I
I had
didn't
no
know
idea
either
that
until a couple
I had
years
no
ago.
idea you could erase and it
Well, do you
erase stuff.
know Freedom Mastery? So where Michael and I get our planners from, they actually even have a planner that's a whole erasable planner. So you
Oh,
write
wow.
it with a specific pen, and then when you're done, you could actually save it online. So your whole planner saves, but then you could erase the whole planner and use it again. You know how you do it? I don't know if you know, but all you have to do is it's a special book. You stick it in the microwave, and when you heat it up, the ink erases, and out of the microwave comes a whole brand new book. And you have the opportunity to write in again. So if you're one who you're like, oh, I don't want to keep buying a book year after year, you could actually, there's a version where you just write in it. When you're done, it uploads online or somehow that happens. And then you put it in the microwave, it erases the ink, and you start fresh.
So I think I have to, you've got me hooked on looking at that. So I think I got to order a few, like, that's just insane. But yeah,
Right.
I mean,
Thing to think about.
think about putting it in the, I can never imagine putting a planner in the microwave and then it's fresh and it uploads everything online. Like, that's amazing technology. Amazing technology.
Well, and it's not through the microwave that it uploads online. There's a different process you go through. I'm not sure if you've got to take pictures of everything. I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect that you put it in the microwave and then it magically syncs to the cloud. That would be really interesting technology.
You need a special kind of microwave to make that magic happen.
They came out with, I don't know if you've heard of it, but there's something called the Remarkable tablet. Maybe you've seen their marketing. They're all over Facebook.
Not sure.
But it's supposed to be the closest thing to paper. It's a tablet, very, very thin, but it's supposed to be the closest thing to writing on paper. So their promise is to basically replace all your notebooks and printed documents with this particular tablet. But
very interesting.
Not that you or I need another gadget. So
yeah.
I know you mentioned that you said you had another planner
tool.
What was the tool?
I want to give everybody another tip, and then let me see here if I could grab this planner. I wasn't planning on showing it, so let me pull it out. And I got actually the biggest one that they had because I thought it was pretty cool, but I'll show this to you. So let me give you another tip. So especially our owners out there, I want you to also, when you think about your personal effectiveness, challenge yourself every day. Like, set a time limit as to when you want your high payoff activities done. So it could be where you're done by 1 or you're free by 3, but come up with something for yourself so that when you are doing all of the things that you've got to do, whether it's your one-on-one meetings or the calls that you're going to make that day, get it all scheduled for yourself so that you're done by 1 or free by 3 or whatever you want to say, so that you have a sense of urgency. And then whatever time you work after that time period, it's all bonus time. Maybe you go around, visit with your staff, whatever it might be, but you get the critical things done first. You know, we've all heard the story about the big rocks. You get those big rocks in first, right? And then there's room for the sand and the pebbles and everything else in that jar. But get it done and decide and play with play with like a little timer. I have one behind me, or your cell phone, and see how quickly you can get different tasks done. But set yourself a time and say, okay, every day I am done by such and such time, or I'm free by. So it's a great strategy, because a lot of times, especially when we're missing out on the sense of urgency, like there's not an inspection happening, there's not a paperwork deadline, whatever it might be, we kind of frail in the wind. And then it's like, all right, well, what's that thing that I want to do? Write down your 3 to 5 things, get them done as fast as you can, and then see what you want to do with the rest of your time. All right. So this other tool that I'm going to show you, it is called, let me see here. It was something that I discovered online that I thought was really cool. So this is what it's called. Oh, got lots of papers in here. This is a planner pad. And this is a very, very old planning technique. But what I really liked about it was that it really emulated webbing or a brain dump. And across the top, I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see this, but if you go to PlannerPad, I think it's plannerpad.com, you'll be able to see different videos. But basically up here, you can create categories. So across the top, you could create like 5 or 6 different categories of main things that you manage. And then basically you write down what the category is, you do a big brain dump. And then the planner pad works on a filtration down system. So basically you've got all your different things here, and then you move them down into the different days of the week when you're actually going to be doing them. So it just helps you be like, oh, okay, here's everything I've got on my list. Here's when I'm actually going to be getting those things done. And then you could color code them as you move them into different days of the week. So I thought this was pretty brilliant because it allows you just to do a big brain dump and then move things into the days when you're going to get them done. And then down below is your calendar section. And this one has calendars from like 6 to 10 o'clock or appointments. So then you could actually move them into specific appointments where you're actually going to get that task done, or where you're going to be delegating that task out. And you could do different things when you do a dump where you could actually put like, oh, I'm delegating this, delegating this, delegating this. So you could put D's there for different things. But I thought this was a pretty cool tool. And it is an older system, but in here I've done like different, I won't show you this because I don't know what's on it, but I've done different webbing in the back of the planner. And then I came here and would write it down and just get it all out again and then put it down for a day of a week. And I thought this was just a really cool tool. And it's thinking about it differently. It's getting it all out of your head and then getting it into the day of the week that you're going to do it, and then breaking it down into an appointment slot into when you're actually going to get that task done. And you could color code, you could do different things to really just say, oh, wow, look at this list that I had, and look at all these things that are done.
Love it.
And scheduled.
Love it. So I know we're at the top of the hour. Where can people go to learn a little bit more about you? If they're a first-time listener, maybe to you or myself, where can people go to learn more? And I know you've got a lot of good freebies and one-on-one calls and things like that. Where's the best place that people can go?
Absolutely. Go to my website, childcarebusinesssuccess.com, or if you're tuning in on Facebook, feel free to reach out to me with a message. If you would like some more information, we do offer a Getting Unstuck consultation directly with me. So if you're interested in that, feel free just to fill out the form on the website or shoot me a message and let me know. But you could go right to childcarebusinesssuccess.com. And we have a couple different programs. One is our childcare program of excellence, which really helps propel your business success to a whole new level. We deal extensively with personal productivity and mindset. And then we also have a VIP coaching program that's 100% dedicated to attracting, interviewing, hiring, retaining, and motivating the team of your dreams. So those are two big opportunities. How about you, Michael?
Love it. Same URL that we've been using for 10 plus years, localchildcaremarketing.com. And we have a free enrollment acceleration call. So our step one is an enrollment acceleration call. See if there's a way to allow us to help you, see if we're a fit for each other. But we do everything from driving enrollments, new websites, branding, social media, content writing, story brand, all that good stuff. So if we can help you grow this year, between Julie and myself, we've got everything covered that you could possibly need.
Absolutely. And my biggest message to you is, if you're feeling pain, if you're feeling like you don't have enough enrollments, you don't have enough staff, you don't have enough time, you don't have enough money, reach out. This industry can be very pain tolerant. So don't sit in that pain for too long by yourself. Reach out and have a conversation with one of us or with somebody else who you're following, but reach out and have that conversation so that you can move forward. And 2021, I know it in my heart of hearts, can be the absolute best year for you ever. Absolutely. Ever. Yeah.
Do you have a good quote to give our listeners to kind of start and kick off the year?
I think since we were talking about freedom mastery, isn't this beautiful? It's just so beautiful. This is the vanilla planner. There is a quote in the very front. Can I get it there? Cover that I want to share with you. Mine's kind of like embossed in gold. And I probably have shared this before. Michael, I think you have this quote.
Yeah, I don't have it nicely embossed like yours is.
Yeah. So this one is by Gandhi, and it says, keep your thoughts positive because your thoughts become your words. Keep your words positive because your words become your behavior. Keep your behavior positive because your behavior becomes your habits. Keep your habits positive because your habits become your values. Keep your values positive because your values become your destiny.
Love it. we are ready to help all of you make this year your most successful year that you've ever had. If we can be of any help, please reach out to Julie or myself. We're more than happy to help you in any way that we can. We'll keep coming back at you with lots of great content, as many weeks in 2021 as we can do that fits our schedule. But we're here to serve. Again, Happy New Year. Let's kick some butt together. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you.
Happy New Year.